What's the biggest green flag that could be misinterpreted as a red flag? Being forthcoming. Being able to own up to and speak to personal faults and failings could easily be misread at the beginning stages of dating. Close relationship with a parent. Yes, I've met mama's boys but also sons who are attentive to his mom. Or dad. Same for daughters. Had a coworker saying that the way I talk about my ex is both a red and green flag. Because I speak very highly of her, it seems like I'm still hung up, but it's also good that I'm not someone constantly talking shit on my ex. I thought my husband was full of shit because he was so nice to me while dating. 6 years later it turns out he's just genuinely a good person. Being overly interested in you. Overly kind. Someone that loves and appreciates you like a golden retriever. Some people distrust happy and warm people. Clear boundaries. If you come in with emotional immaturity, boundaries can seem cruel, arbitrary, and alienating. Once a girl made fun of my colorblindness on the first date. Huge gray flag. Matthew Broussard. Regret after screwing up could be misinterpreted as love bombing from an abuser. Is that the kind of thing you mean? Someone being genuinely, NSA nice. We're so used to people either being meh, shitty, or downright manipulative that we're on guard when someone is nice without a financial or other self-interested reason. Being quiet, reserved. It can easily be interpreted as someone being boring, not fun, unintelligent, etc. But it can also be that someone is mature, has good internal guidance, or just humble. Bro, when I was dating I had men get upset with me because I would admit when I was wrong. Why don't you put up a fight because I'd still be wrong like her? Sharing your insecurities. If you are comfortable enough with a partner to explain what makes you tick, I'd say that flag is greener than a traffic light. Holy shit, this blew up. Not having any social media. Being thrifty with how you spend money can be misinterpreted or appear as being cheap, but having a partner who is financially responsible is always a good thing. Quick responsive texting. None of this wait as long as or one day shit. Got something to say then please do. No games. When you build a PC and attempt to start it for the first time, you may see it start up but then immediately stop. This is fine, and usually good, because if it didn't do anything, you would know something was wrong. It typically starts back up on its own after a second. As long as you see it post, you're fine. Color blindness. Wanting to talk for a bit before meeting in person. I got a dating app matches, we texted a little bit, and then she gave me 5 minutes to decide on a time-place to meet. I just let the time elapse. I don't like being rushed. Being honest, vulnerable, and accountable. To people who don't actually know what these things look like, people who think vulnerability is a weakness, for example, this can look like a massive red flag, as if honesty, vulnerability, and accountability are all covers for the master manipulator. I have one that I'm pretty certain of and girl I'm seeing disagrees. I don't think you should meet a woman's children from previous marriage until a month or so into it. Like, make me earn the right to meet your kids. Girl wants me to meet her kids on day 3 and I'm like no, and she thinks it's a red flag. Girl, you don't know me. If you want to fuck me on the first date that's fine, but keep me away from your kids until you know I'm not a crazy person. When my wife and I met, she thought it was a major red flag. I had only been in one serious relationship before that. Turns out getting to know and love yourself before anyone else is a good thing. Therapy. Talking openly about flaws. Texting back right away LOL. Which I think is stupid, but I had someone tell me that they thought it was weird that I texted back so fast, but I text everyone back fast LOL. I think it's just being polite. She took it as me being obsessed or something. A big green flag that could be misinterpreted as a red flag is someone being extremely cautious and slow in entering a romantic relationship. While it may seem like they're not interested or are being distant, they might just be taking their time to ensure a healthy and stable foundation for the relationship, which can actually be a sign of maturity and commitment in the long run. In the case of my own marriage, my wife grew up abjectly poor. I was raised not rich, but decidedly middle class. Her interest in my financial stability was a self-serving way to make sure I could take care of her in a stable way, rather than her being a gold digger. And she never saw me as a way to replace her own financial contribution. Having good friends of another gender. A lot of people think guys having female best friends or vice versa is a red flag, but personally it shows me that you view men as people rather than mere objects of attraction. I had a girlfriend flip out on me for comforting one of her friends who was going through a bad breakup. GF demanded to know if the friend and I had something going on. I was just trying to be a good listener. A male being good with kids. Not having social media of any kind. When dating my husband in the past, my family thought it was a huge that he wasn't on social media. Guys being good with or liking kids. Being straight to the point and honest. People just seem to expect otherwise and treat you as such. In short, being autistic can really suck sometimes. Believe what the fuck I say when I say it, or don't, and don't waste my time. Driving a cheap car. Are they broke or do they just use their money for more important thing than a car? Learning someone is in therapy counseling. Usually gets seen in a negative light but actually means the person is actively working on themselves. Asking questions to get clarifications doesn't mean I don't know, I'm asking what you want done. Too many people connecting questioning and not knowing, and especially if it's a job your purpose to know, it looks like a weakness. Still being friends with exes. Lots of people take that as a red flag for getting into a relationship. Alternative view: you mean every previous relationship you've had has ended toxically? Seems to be one common factor here. They always smile, seem chipper, always give compliments. They aren't afraid to speak or socialize. For me, it was not gawking at her tie-ties at all. She literally grabbed my hands and put them on her toots. I'm not here to assume you want to be ogled. She thought it was amusing. She said it was eye-opening to be with someone respectful to the point she didn't know if I liked her. Good communication prevailed thankfully, and she hears all about them grand titters now. Eagerness. I love when someone is excited to see me or be around me. I don't always love golden retriever energy cause it can be tiring in general, but I never understand people who think it's a red flag that someone likes them too much. That speaks to major insecurities or immaturity to me. Eating alone anywhere. If you went out with the intent of just eating the food, who cares? Some people look at it like you don't have any friends or weird. Red flag: he lives with his mom. Reveal: his mom has Alzheimer's. He moved home so he could take care of her. They are interested in me. Lack of social media. I can see how it might be interpreted as kind of dodgy or risky, but more and more people, myself included, just can't be convinced that it's worth it to publicize every private aspect of your life. All of them. I am red-green colorblind. Being polite, respectful, being seen as flirty or sexual. Being direct with what you want, expect in a respectable manner, is seen as being fast. Having a quiet personal life, not always posting on social media, might not even have social media, being laid back and easygoing, if you will. I've met a lot of people who seem to say it's off-putting for them and distrust towards that person. Some people have even gone as far to suggest that it means you are not successful or can offer much in the relationship. Not behaving possessively. I know a lot of people who say, oh, if your partner isn't jealous and distrusting of others around you, it means they don't care or they're cheating. Really, it might just mean they trust you not to be unfaithful. A guy that has a good friend of the opposite sex. WTF, this sub is turning into a vexillology with a gazillion stupid flag questions every day. For a man, I like kids. Friends of the opposite gender, provided they aren't flirty with each other. My reasoning: I'm assuming a hetero relationship here. If you're a man, it shows that you can empathize with women, and if you're a woman, it shows that you can empathize with men. Empathy for the opposite gender is important in hetero relationships. It shows that you're able to maintain boundaries with people of the opposite gender. And if you're a guy, it also shows that you aren't going to be romantically sexually interested in every woman you meet. The Portuguese or Bangladeshi flags. Being in therapy. No social media. Earlier I saw some women in a dating subreddit claiming if he offers to pay, that's a gentleman, if he insists, he's controlling. Speaking to people who are on a lower social or economic strata than you as equals. Often, people misinterpret this as a lack of confidence, or being a people pleaser. But really, this quality shows good leadership, the ability to make even the most unimportant feel valued. When you press down on anti-locking brakes and it seems the brakes are pushing back or pulsating, they are doing their job. Not having any red flags is a red flag, or at least a beige flag. My partner to me, when they couldn't think of a red flag for me in the earlier months of dating. Someone who talks with their parents every day. They won't be around forever, and a person who can appreciate their family will often have positive traits in a relationship. I hear from my female friends, all the time, that it's weird when their BFs are too close to their family. All the best relationships in my cohort have great family relations. It's not necessary, but it's not the red flag it's often made out to be. Sticking to your boundaries when someone pushes them. I don't think not having a good relationship with your parents is always a red flag. Better to cut off toxic parents and try to be nothing like them than not cut them off and eventually become exactly copies of them. If you have nice parents and you're an asshole to them, then at that point it's a red flag. Being frugal. A good relationship or a friendship with ex-partners. In my opinion, it shows emotional maturity. I am an atheist but don't hate religion or have very strong opinions on it. Being direct. Being single for more than a year. Genuinely complimenting people regularly. Good relationship with your ex. I had an ex-boyfriend that hated that my ex-husband and I have a really good co-parenting relationship and friendship, and always misinterpreted it as us still having feelings for one another. In reality, I wouldn't touch him romantically with a 10-foot pole, but to me it's a green flag if you can recognize that a relationship isn't working and move on without hatred. Healthy confrontation. Green flag. Let me explain. My now wife always tells me how she loves confrontation. I come from a family that avoided it at all cost, usually causing even more problems and miscommunication. I learned that my wife literally meant she enjoys confronting problems so she could talk them out calmly and solve them. My family raised me to think all confrontation is just yelling and arguing. Took a lot of learning on my part to realize this. Asking about kids early on. If one wants kids but the other doesn't, then you're wasting your times. It's a good and important conversation to have early on. I don't know. Especially when uttered by an expert. Android user. Setting boundaries. Addressing behaviors or tendencies that you view as red flags in a non-aggressive way. Communication is key and is a great way to grow personally and together in a relationship. Boundaries. Sometimes having healthy boundaries makes people uncomfortable or makes them think you don't like them or have issues. Going to therapy. A lot of people interpret it as the person having something wrong with them, but seeking help and an unbiased person to hash out feelings with is a huge green flag to me.